Halloween is but days away, and just in time for the spookiest day of the year, I've got some brand new spooky movies to watch. Well, it's true. It is late October of 2023, and this month's horror packs have just arrived. For those of you who don't know, HorrorPack is the horror movie subscription service that every month sends wonderful horror movies to myself and their various other subscribers. We never know what's going to be inside, and I like to open the boxes up here on this channel, live to camera, so y'all can see what I got at the same time as I find out. This month begins with a bit of an announcement from the HorrorPack people. In the past, they have offered these two HorrorPack boxes. One of them is a DVD HorrorPack and one of them is a Blu-ray HorrorPack. But I've just received word, I just got an email from the HorrorPack people a few days ago, that they're changing a lot of things about their company. They're rebuilding their website, and as part of that, I understand that the DVD HorrorPack is coming to an end. So I believe, I have not yet spoken to the people directly, I've only read their email, but I believe that the DVD pack will be continuing through the end of this year, through the end of 2023, but then beginning in 2024, we'll only be getting the Blu-ray HorrorPacks. What that means for people with existing subscriptions, I've not yet figured out. I don't know whether they're transferring over to extending the Blu-rays or if they're issuing prorated refunds. I don't know how exactly everything's going to be handled. Once I find out, I will let y'all know in my next HorrorPack video. But while I am saddened to hear that the DVD HorrorPack will be ending because I tend to like both HorrorPacks, I am pleased that the Blu-ray HorrorPack should be continuing, and from the way they've been speaking, presumably that this will allow them to divert more resources to the Blu-ray pack, so hopefully we'll see a new and improved Blu-ray pack even as the DVD pack comes to an end. But for now, none of that has come to pass just yet, so I do have both of the packs, and as is my way, I'm going to go ahead and open these up. While I am doing that, let me remind you to like this video, share, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and all of those things. I will very soon be finally making my 6-month mass review of all of the HorrorPack movies that I've received in the past. Every 6 months I review them all at once, since as I open these up now, I haven't seen the movies yet. I'm a little bit behind on preparing that video, but it is still coming, so make sure you're subscribed and have rung the notification bell so you don't miss out. In addition to that, let me also remind you to read down in the What's It, where I have notes on all of my various projects, all the other things other than this channel that I get up to when I'm not making videos for y'all. I will also be putting purchase links for all of these movies down in the What's It, so if you're not a HorrorPack subscriber but you want to get some of these movies for yourself, you can find links down there where you can support some filmmakers, support this channel, and get some wonderful movies for yourself. So that's a wonderful thing for y'all to do. But now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to the movies. I do like to begin with the DVD pack, and I see no reason to break from tradition for as long as we are still getting DVD packs, so let's begin there. The first film to emerge from the DVD pack is Paranormal Activity 4. This is one I do already have a copy of, and of course have seen. I've seen all of the Paranormal Activity films, but it's a decent movie. I do think that around this time, around the fourth film in this franchise, was the time when they sort of started to lose some of the mojo that made the first couple of films so great. However, while I don't think it is one of the strongest films in the franchise, if you're a fan of Paranormal Activity, if you liked the first 1 or 2 films and you haven't gotten around to number 4 yet, it is still certainly worth a watch. For those of you who might not know, the description on the back says, "All of the activity has led to this. When Katie disappeared with her nephew Hunter, there were no survivors. 5 years later, she's returned with a mysterious boy, ready to target new victims with her demonic rage. Now, a family's young daughter will capture every one of the terrifying occurrences, beginning with her new neighbor's arrival. It all leads to an ending so intense it will leave you shaking. Well, I don't know about all that. I don't think this was as scary as the original. Like I said, the original was just such a passion project by the filmmakers, and it captured something in the zeitgeist that made it famously a very frightening film in a way that I don't think the sequels were. But it's still an entertaining watch and a worthy entry into anyone's film collection. The next item to come out of the DVD pack for this October 2023 is Amityville Clown House. So if you're confused, I should explain right from the start that this really has nothing to do with the Amityville horror, the original film, or the various sequels and spin-offs and reboots. However, Amityville, being the name of a city, is not a trademark, so a recent trend over the last several years has been for a lot of other horror filmmakers, particularly the low-budget, cheesy sort of horror filmmakers, to produce tons and tons of Amityville movies. They just stick the name Amityville along with whatever else they're doing and make what are frequently entertaining, but also frequently not objectively very good, low-budget, cheesy kinds of horror movies. This has given us titles like Amityville Bigfoot, Amityville Backpack, and of course, Amityville Clown House. This one in particular I have not yet seen. I was aware that it existed, but I don't really know much about it other than that it existed. So let's go ahead and read the description on this one and see what it's all about. It says, just when you thought the terror was over. Following the devastation of another family in Amityville Toy Box, the possessed toy finds its way into the home of a young married couple. Soon, strange noises haunt the home. The husband begins acting in unnatural ways. These are the latest victims of the legendary curse, all stemming from the original gruesome DeFeo murders over 40 years ago. So this one is a sequel to Amityville Toy Box, which is another in that ever-growing list of Amityville movies, but also another one I have not yet seen. But I will say, while I'm not expecting Citizen Kane out of these films, if you like no to low budget, cheesy, fun horror movies, a lot of these Amityville movies have been well worth a watch, and I'm certainly hoping that this one follows in that trend. The next item to come out of the DVD pack is a steel case. This is the Roger Corman Monsters. It says it's 6 creature features. Roger Corman is, of course, one of the patron saints of horror fans and of this channel. Let's see which films are included, and I'll go ahead and read the descriptions for the films as I read out the titles that are listed on the back. The first is, of course, The Little Shop of Horrors. That is the original Roger Corman Little Shop of Horrors that he essentially made on a dare. They had some leftover props and sets from a previous movie, and Roger Corman said, we've got this extra weekend, let's make a movie. And the result was the original Little Shop of Horrors. The description here says, when a nerdy florist cultivates a carnivorous talking plant, he must find new victims to feed its insatiable appetite. A fair enough description, and if you've only ever seen the musical Little Shop of Horrors and you've never seen the original, the musical is a better movie, but the original is certainly worth watching. It's kind of a cult classic for good reason. The next one, we have Attack of the Giant Leeches, the description of which says, crawling horror from hell, cave-dwelling giant swamp creatures feast on human flesh. Fair enough. Don't really need to say much more about that one. We then have The Wasp Woman, the description of which says, a youth formula developed from enzymes of queen wasps turns a beautiful woman into a horrible winged menace. See, these all sound sort of the same. We have these creature features, but while they do follow similar formulae, they're always a lot of fun to watch. We then have on disc 2, Creature from the Haunted Sea, the description of which says, a smuggler plans to kill his human cargo and blame their deaths on a legendary sea creature, but the beast turns out to be real. Which is why, if you ever find yourself in a horror movie, or a horror novel for that matter, you should probably not do things you oughtn't, because there is a certain sort of poetic justice to be found in the horror genre. We then have She-Gods of Shark Reef, the description of which says, "A hideous stone god lords over beautiful island maidens in this wild adventure to the depths of hellish horror." And finally, we have Beast from Haunted Cave, the description of which says, "When thieves set off a mine explosion as a diversion to their bank heist, it awakens a deadly cave creature." So, some of these I've seen, and some of them I have not, but you really can't go wrong with Roger Corman. I mentioned he's sort of one of the patron saints of this channel. He's also in many ways the patron saint of the micro-budget passion project horror filmmaking, because he did these things where he made these remarkable films that are never the best in the world, but are certainly good fun. And he did it on tiny budgets with almost no production time, and that's the way a lot of films get made these days in the independent horror film arena. And I think a lot of people sort of like to go back to Roger Corman and the B-horror roots. And so, of course, I am thrilled to get this Roger Corman collection. And finally, from the DVD pack, we have a film called Bone Jangles. And the tagline says, "When bones rattle, blood will flow." And I'm pausing and looking at the cover for a second, because something about this cover and the title strikes me as very familiar, but I don't remember from where. This may have been one that I picked up out of a $1 or $5 movie bin at some point and haven't watched yet. I haven't seen it. I know I haven't seen it. It may have been something that I scrolled past on one of the streaming services, but I know I have seen this cover and this title, but I know nothing else about the film. So let's just go ahead and read the description and figure out what it's really all about. The description says, "Fight the curse with something worse." While transporting the legendary serial killer Bone Jangles to an asylum, a group of police officers break down in a town cursed with demons and zombies. The only way they can survive the night and save the town is to release Bone Jangles to help them fight off this ancient supernatural threat. That's an idea that I think we've seen a few times before, and frequently leads to some good things. The idea that in order to fight a greater evil, you need to release and team up with a lesser evil. In fact, if you pay close attention to The Exorcist, there's that line about using evil against evil, because people had these little statues of the demon Pazuzu, because they would use Pazuzu's aid against other demons, and that leads into all kinds of interesting ideas. And if you're interested in Middle Eastern religions and that sort of lore, you can read up on it and end up with a much deeper understanding of what The Exorcist was really all about. But to return to this film, it's not a demon, it's a serial killer, but the idea is kind of the same. We have this supernatural threat, so let's team up with the guy that maybe we can recapture and control later on, but do whatever we need to do to get through this threat. So it sounds like an interesting sort of a film, and I'm looking forward to trying Bone Jangles as well. And that brings us, of course, to the Blu-ray HorrorPack, which I will get to right now. The first one to come out of that is another Paranormal Activity film. This is Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. And this is, I believe, I want to say 6th. It's either 5th or 6th in the series. I think it's the 6th one. And my review on this one, to sort of just tease it a little bit before I get to the mass review several months down the road, it's pretty similar to what I said about the 4th one, which is to say, not nearly as good as the original, not even quite as good as the first couple, but still worth a watch. The description on this one, for those of you who may not have seen it, says, "For the first time, you will see the activity, and it's more intense than ever. When a new family moves into Katie and Christie's former house, they discover a mysterious video camera that reveals the presence of an ancient evil that begins to terrorize their lives. Now, with their young daughter's soul in danger, they must fight back against this demonic threat before becoming its next victims in this latest chapter of the groundbreaking horror franchise. And so honestly, it's kind of more of the same with the franchise. We're following the same mythology about the evil entities that are plaguing the various characters, and we're learning more about the characters and families, even from the first films as the films continue and bringing in some new characters. It's more of the same, so it's not as effective as the first ones, but as sequels go, the horror genre has certainly done a lot worse. So another worthy entry, another one that I have seen, but if you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. Next, from the Blu-ray pack, we have a film entitled Spell. The description or the tagline on this one says, "Evil has its roots." This is one that I'm not at all familiar with, although if I look at the little symbol, I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a symbol in the corner here, and the same artwork shows up on the back, which looks like some sort of maybe voodoo or some sort of pagan symbolism. I don't recognize it, so I can't quite place it, but it certainly looks like some kind of occult or religious symbolism of some sort. I honestly don't think I've even heard of this film, although the artwork, both on the cover and the screen grabs from the film that are on the back, look quite intriguing. Let's go ahead and read the description and see what it's all about. It says, while flying to his father's funeral in rural Appalachia, an intense storm causes Marquis to lose control of the plane carrying him and his family. He awakens wounded, alone, and trapped in Miss Eloise's attic, who claims she can nurse him back to health with the Boogity, a hoodoo figure she has made from his blood and skin. Unable to call for help, Marquis desperately tries to outwit and break free from her dark magic and save his family from a sinister ritual before the rise of the blood moon. So it is a sort of hoodoo-related sort of idea. In this case, it seems like it's sort of the evil side of hoodoo, or perhaps a perception of hoodoo that emphasizes it as evil rather than what most of hoodoo practitioners would consider. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Hoodoo is a pretty rich tradition, and there's certainly a lot in it that lends itself to a horror movie. This one sounds like another winner, honestly. I'm very much looking forward to watching this one as well. That's called Spell. Next up, third from the Blu-ray pack, we have Disturbia. This is another one that I have seen. I don't believe I already had a copy of it, though, so it's a worthy entry into my collection. This is the one that's about a young man who's under house arrest, and he passes the time by spying on his neighbors, and it becomes a sort of paranoid thing as he thinks he's seeing some things that ought not to be going on. I suspect the description on the back can probably do it more justice than I can, because it's been a little while since I've seen it, so let's read that now. It says, even on this quiet tree-lined street, no one is safe, especially from the savage killer next door. Welcome to Disturbia, a cool thriller with big scares. Living under 3 months house arrest, Cale Brecht passes his days spying on the neighbors. It's all fun and games until things take a horrifying turn for the worse. Cale is convinced his neighbors next door is a serial killer, but he can't prove anything, can't convince anyone, and can't leave his house without triggering an alarm. Enlisting the help of his friends, Cale is determined to expose the truth. But have they all taken on more than they bargained for with a cold-blooded murderer on the loose? With nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, Cale and his friends are in a race for their lives in this electrifying thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So that's a pretty fair description. This is a good movie. Again, I'll provide a full review in that mass review whenever I get around to those in a few months down the road in this case, because this is not part of the 6 months that we're currently waiting for me to finish reviewing. When I do that, I will have rewatched it and it'll be fresher in my memory and I can give a more proper review. But for now, I can say I did enjoy it. I'm glad to have this Blu-ray in my collection. And if you like the kind of movie that isn't necessarily a blood and guts slasher movie, nor anything overtly supernatural, but if you like a sort of psychological thriller that plays with ideas of paranoia and you're never quite sure whether you're meant to believe the thing is really happening or if the characters are just paranoid, if you like that, this is the kind of movie for you. And finally, we have what must be the HorrorPack exclusive Blu-ray. I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video, in every Blu-ray pack there is a HorrorPack exclusive Blu-ray, which is a limited edition, or maybe the first time something's been on Blu-ray, or sometimes it's an autographed edition, or there's an extra special features, or something like that. There is an exclusive Blu-ray edition of some film in every pack. And this one, we have the exclusive of a film called Obstacle Corpse. This is HorrorPack exclusive number 88, according to the spine. The tagline here on the cover says, "Run and jump and climb and crawl for your life." So presumably this is a kind of a slasher movie set around an obstacle course, a killer obstacle course perhaps. I'm guessing, I've not seen the film, but just based on the title. Let's read the description and see if I am correct. The description on this one says, "Sunny never fit in with her survivalist family. To prove to her dad that she is one of them, she accepts an invitation to a Pro-Am obstacle course race. She convinces her goofball friend Ezra to join her, but they soon find themselves on the wrong team in a game where the elite prove their superiority in the bloodiest manner. Survival takes on a whole new meaning in this satirical horror comedy from filmmaker Hope Madden." That is a filmmaker whose name sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm unfamiliar with her work. I'm unfamiliar with this film. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. That is often the case with these HorrorPack exclusives. They do a pretty good job of selecting good movies. They're almost always good movies, sometimes even great movies. So they pick good movies, but they tend to be ones that I'm not familiar with or haven't seen. And that's one of the things I really like about the Blu-ray HorrorPack is they do a great job of at least once in every pack giving me something that I probably wouldn't have otherwise heard about. So I'm very excited to try this Obstacle Corpse as well. And so there we have it. 8 new DVDs and Blu-rays. Some of these are multi-packs. There's that Roger Corman collection, so I actually have well more than 8 new movies. A couple of repeats that I've already seen, but that happens from time to time. And a lot of things that I have not yet seen, which is wonderful. I always like to discover something new, and that's one of the reasons I subscribe to HorrorPack. So I'm looking forward to watching or rewatching all of these films. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if you're interested in any of these, there are purchase links to at least as many of them as I can find purchase links for, right down there in the What's It, so check that out. Also, as I mentioned at the beginning, HorrorPack is undergoing some changes, and I will be updating you as I learn more. I may or may not make specific videos for those updates, but at the very least, once I've found some new information, when I open up next month's HorrorPacks, I'll let y'all know what I figured out. In the meantime, do be sure to stick around this channel for that and for my reviews and for all of my other wonderful, exquisite horror-related content. I've got reviews, I've got news, I've got discussions and deep dives and all kinds of stuff. So if you're new here, thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe and stick around. For everyone else, welcome back and thanks for watching again. But the most important thing, as I always say when I sign off, take care and stay scared. And since I probably won't see y'all again until the big day itself, happy Halloween.